Chapter 28. 9/11, Another Dimension? The WTC site in 2017. I visited the site in August 2017 and noticed the following signs. Visitor rules and regulations. Prohibited behavior includes, but is not limited to, expressive activity that has the effect, intent, or propensity to draw a crowd, except by permission demonstrations, rallies, soliciting, leafleting promotion and any third-party vending. Sporting activities, including cycling, skateboarding, rollerblading, or roller skating. Loitering, littering, or smoking, throwing or placing anything into the memorial pools. Use of loud amplified devices. Commercial filming, photography, or audio recording, except by permission. Prohibited items include, but are not limited to, weapons, explosives, tools, and hazardous materials of any kind. Paint and other marking instruments. Alcohol. Animals, except for service animals, open flames. Powdered liquid soaps. The museum subjects visitors to an airport-style security check, as do the boats to the Statue of Liberty. The museum is expensive to enter and, of course, just reasserts the official false narrative. Some have commented that the WTC site now seems to contain something like 2 black holes which drain water into an abyss. I think that the flowing water also has an additional purpose, to dampen down any residual energy from the ongoing reactions which started when the towers were destroyed. Another observation is regarding the destruction of the Alfred P. Murrah building in 1995. It also may have involved some type of energy weapon. The damage it experienced was quite similar to that experienced by WTC-6. Also of note were cars near the OKC building. Some of them appear to be toasted in a similar manner to those near the WTC. Also of note is the state of the OKC site in 2017. Alfred P. Murrah Building, Memorial, another water feature. Numerology and symbolism. For many years, people who have studied events like the JFK assassination and the murder of Princess Diana have discussed more esoteric considerations, such as the numbers associated with the events. Rick Clay, now deceased, presented some very compelling information about such things. Rick Clay observed, "The World Trade Center stood like an 11 on the New York skyline. 9 + 1 + 1 = 11. September 11th is the 254th day of the year. 2 + 5 + 4 = 11. September 11th was 111 days until the end of the year. The first plane to hit the World Trade Center was Flight 11. Alleged total number crew on Flight 11 was 11. New York is the 11th state of the U.S. Constitution. September 11, 2001 stands 11 years from 2012. Note that in the Mayan calendar, it was said that there would be 20 years of no time. A period of unrest where the planet is making a transition from one age to another. 9/11 stood 9 years from the start of this no time and 11 years from the end. I might also add that the number of floors in each building was 110, or 111 if you count the observation deck etc. The year 2001 was the first year of the new millennium, as there was no year 0. We can also note the name of the building that is just across the street from where the WTC complex stood, the Millennium Hotel. On the old website for the building, it states, "The hotel is a high-rise black glass building which pays homage to Arthur C. Clarke's vision of the monolith in 2001, A Space Odyssey, complete with canopy, flags and ornamental trees at the entrance." Photo by Andrew Johnson. Returning to the JFK assassination, it took place on the 22nd of November, 11/22 or 22/11. Mark Passio has also spoken extensively about occult rituals and practices and their apparent usage in events like 9/11. Passio is one of a relatively small number of researchers who has mentioned the research of Dr. Judy Wood in his talks, although I don't think he has mentioned the Hutchison effect and weather-related phenomena. Predictive programming? Though it is easy to write this off as a coincidence, one of the other unsettling areas of study is how images of the WTC towers being attacked, damaged or destroyed were shown in quite a number of films, TV shows and other media years before the events took place. A page entitled "The Shocking Advance Hints of the 9/11 Attacks" by Mike King displays the following examples. April, 1967, Newsweek magazine. Just before construction on the towers began. Front cover, David Rockefeller, who pushed for the towers to be built, wearing a watch with hands on the 9 and the 11. Back cover, cigarette ad depicts towers and speaks of a fight worth fighting. 1979, album cover, Supertramp, Breakfast in America. View from airplane window depicts towers exploding, orange juice, at breakfast time, attacks took place in the morning. 1987, movie, The Squeeze, starring Michael Keaton. 1993, movie, Super Mario Bros. 1995, card game, Illuminati Cards. 1997, Donald Duck comic book. 1998, movie, Armageddon, starring Bruce Willis. March, 2001, New York Magazine. Back to the Future, 1985 to 1989. Several observers have also pointed out a disturbing number of what seem to be thinly veiled references to 9/11 in all three Back to the Future films, the last of which was released 12 years before the events unfolded. Of particular interest is the analysis by Carl James in his book Science Fiction and the Hidden Global Agenda, Volume 2. He writes, of all the films to contain symbolism and themes relating to 9/11, none have been scrutinized more closely than the Back to the Future trilogy, particularly Part 1 of the film series. Authors note, for the sake of avoiding repetition, I will refer to the Back to the Future films and trilogy as BTTF from this point on. Numerous scenes and sections of dialogue appear to allude to the events of that day, often in combination with curious symbolism and on-screen appearances of the numbers 9 and 11. The key 9/11 allusions in Part 1 of the film trilogy appear predominantly, but not exclusively, in several pivotal story sections. The first section takes place at the Twin Pines Mall in the early morning hours of October 26, 1985. The name of the mall is analogous with the Twin Towers. When Marty McFly arrives at the mall, the time on the mall sign is 1:16, an inverted 9/11. The sign carries the moniker Twin Pines Mall and two pine tree shapes. When the sign is inverted, as with the aforementioned time of 1:16, the tree shapes on the sign are loosely analogous with the iconic shapes that the WTC Twin Towers cast on the New York skyline. I should note that Marty comes directly to the mall from his home on Lyon Estates, the entrance to which is flanked by twin concrete pillars of a sort. Marty arrives and becomes a witness to a time travel experiment being carried out by his friend Doc Brown. Doc unveils his time machine, a modified DeLorean car, which emerges from the back of a van. The twin ramps which descend from the tailgate of the van are reminiscent of the WTC Twin Towers. The first thing the Doc does is to synchronize the experiment stopwatch with his control watch. The time on both of these watches is 1:19, another quasi-inverted 9/11. Marty and Doc Brown come under attack from Muslim terrorists, whose plutonium the Doc has stolen as part of his experiment. This inclusion of Middle Eastern terrorists is notable in the context of 9/11. However, remember that terrorists only equate to the official narrative, cover story of 9/11, not to the evidence indicating a wholly different scenario on the 11th of September, such as the use of directed free energy technology at the WTC. There is further analysis and information in Carl James' book. Other analyses of BTTF symbolism that have been done in various videos do not mention Dr. Judy Wood's research. Masonic logos. Soon after I started to find out about the truth of 9/11 in 2004, I met a chap called Steve Collier. It was he that first alerted me to the use of Masonic symbolism in logos and signs that are used by powerful organizations and companies. I later considered whether this symbolism was present in some of the truth groups that I had been writing about. That is, the Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth logo, Scholars for 9/11 Truth and the splinter group Scholars for 9/11 Truth and Justice. An attack on human consciousness. In several interviews, Dr. Judy Wood has described that the events of 9/11 and their cover-up were an attack on human consciousness. I agree. These events were used to generate fear and ignorance. 9/11 was an implementation of global trauma-based mind control. You can read about smaller-scale trauma-based mind control in books by Neil Sanders, Walter Bowart and others. Some people have suggested that the events of 9/11 represent a gateway, through which our consciousness can pass and be transformed, so that we then learn the manipulation and control we have been subjected to in many ways. Alchemy and magic. We have noted elsewhere that materials at the WTC during and after the destruction appear to have undergone some kind of transmutation. This is exactly what alchemists have talked about doing, turning lead into gold, and all that. Are we now getting into an area which might even explain how the 9/11 perpetrators have been able to initiate and sustain a global cover-up of the truth about 9/11, and micromanage this cover-up? I'll leave the reader to think about that some more.